Good morning, respected dignitaries, esteemed faculty members, and dear students. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the University of Hyderabad Distinguished Lecture Series, launched in celebration of the university's Golden Jubilee and the Silver Jubilee of the School of Management Studies. Through this series, we have the honor of engaging with distinguished leaders and thinkers who inspire and enlighten us. Today's session is Lecture 6 in this series, and it promises to be both insightful and inspiring. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to our eminent personalities onto the dais. To begin today's session, I invite Professor G.V.R.K. Acharyulu, Dean of the School of Management Studies, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great privilege to welcome you all to this 6th distinguished lecture, being a part of Silver Jubilee celebrations of the School of Management Studies and also Golden Jubilee of the University of Hyderabad. I extend warm welcome to Professor B.J. Rao, Honorable Vice Chancellor, University of Hyderabad, whose vision and encouragement have been guiding university's growth and excellence. A warm welcome to Professor Lokandra also, who is the coordinator of the Distinguished Lecture Series, and to all the officers from the administration, deans from other schools, faculty colleagues, alumni, students, and guests who have joined for this special occasion. It is indeed an honor to welcome our distinguished speaker, Dr. Duvvuri Subbarao, former governor of Reserve Bank of India, a leader whose career reflects integrity, vision, wisdom, and a deep sense of service to the nation. Sir, we are truly privileged to have you with us today to share your expertise on leadership lessons from my career as a public servant. Your reflections will definitely inspire our students and faculty. The school, started in 1999, has grown to a vibrant center for management education, research, and consultancy. Over the years, the school started 5 programs: MBA General, MBA Business Analytics, MBA Hospital and Healthcare Management, and MBA Executive, MBA and PhD programs, each aimed at preparing capable and ethical, responsible leaders. Our faculty members combine academic excellence with industry experience and are actively involved in research, consultancy, and institution building. We contribute to strengthen the industry institute partnerships through distinguished lecture series like this one, management conclaves, faculty development programs, management development programs, and collaborative projects that bring practice to the classroom learning. We are also expanding our global collaborations with universities, Flinders University, Australia, University of South Wales, UK, INTI International University, Malaysia, and so on and so forth, providing our students and faculty with global exposure and research opportunities. Once again, I extend warm welcome, sir, to Professor Dr. Duvvuri Subbarao for joining us today and sharing your inspiring journey and insights. Let us look forward to an enlightening and memorable session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your warm welcome and inspiring words. I now invite Professor B.J. Rao, Honorable Vice Chancellor of the University of Hyderabad, to address the gathering.
Good morning to all of you. This is a real special privilege as well as pleasure for me to invite Dr. Duvvuri Subbarao Garu amidst us to this very large young audience. We are celebrating Silver Jubilee in Management School and Golden Jubilee at the University of Hyderabad. So there cannot be a better occasion than this to invite the most learned and experienced economist of the times and former Reserve Bank Governor Duvvuri Garu. Sir, this is a institution of eminence. We have a lot of youngsters who are trying to transition into high education from almost no education. These are first generation learners. And it will be a special pleasure for them to hear you out. And I look at your title, which is Leadership Lessons from My Career as a Public Servant. I find this as the most unpompous title, which is very straight and direct. I really appreciate that, and we are all here to hear you and to see how we can learn from you in your long career as a civil servant, as an economist, as a finance secretary, as obviously Governor Reserve Bank, and also a lot of other foreign assignments. So you, in some sense, you combine academic sanctity with economic wisdom. I have looked at you from multiple angles. You have gone through very important facets of Indian economy. I have heard of your hard opinions, which has also invited you some trouble to you in your career. So all these are very interesting lessons for all of us, because essentially we also go through a similar friction points between policies that are required for the universities and the political pressures. So you have gone through it. So it's an interesting analogy that we want to learn from you, and my youngsters are ready to imbibe the inspiration, the experience, and the knowledge that you are going to pass on to us. Thank you very much for sparing your time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your motivating and insightful address. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great privilege to introduce today's distinguished speaker for Lecture 6, Dr. Duvvuri Subbarao, a respected economist and outstanding public servant. Dr. Subbarao served as the Governor of the Reserve Bank of India from 2018 to 13, a period that began with the global financial crisis. He led the central bank with calm, courage, and sound judgment, helping India navigate one of the most difficult times in world economic history. His leadership during those challenging years is widely regarded as one of the finest examples of vision and resilience in India's financial history. Before that, he held several key positions, including Finance Secretary to the Government of India and Secretary to the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council. He also served at the World Bank as a lead economist, guiding developing countries on public finance and policy reforms. His contributions have not only shaped India's economic policy, but have also set a benchmark for public service that inspires generations of policymakers. Sir is known not only for his leadership, but also for his thought-provoking writings. His books, Who Moved My Interest Rate and Just a Mercenary, Notes from My Life and Career, offer deep insights into leadership, decision-making, and the challenges of public service. We are truly privileged to have him with us today to speak on leadership lessons from my career as a public servant. His journey is an inspiration for all of us, showing how integrity, knowledge, and humility can shape a life of meaningful impact. Please join me in warmly welcoming Dr. Duvvuri Subbarao.
On the, okay. Very good. Vice Chancellor Professor B.J. Rao Garu, Dean Professor Acharya Garu, Professor Loknath Reddy, all of you faculty, staff, and students of the Hyderabad Central University. Wonderful to be here. Even more wonderful to that grand introduction that Priyanka gave just now. I go to several places and people introduce me very nicely. They say a lot of nice things about me, like Priyanka just said. My parents passed away, but every time people say nice things about me, I wish my parents were sitting there. because my father would have been proud. My mother should have believed everything. So thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Vice Chancellor Professor Rao Garu, Professor Acharya Garu invited me to speak at this Golden Jubilee of the university and the Silver Jubilee of the Management School. I'm very happy. But then I struggled to determine what I should say. I left the Reserve Bank of India 12 years ago in September 2013. In these 12 years, the world has moved on, India has moved on, academia has moved on, economics has moved on, central banking has moved on. So whereas I'm stuck frozen in time. So my struggle was, can I say something relevant, something interesting? So these days, whenever people invite me like this, I tell them stories. So let me tell you a story. This story is about my IAS interview. What you call UPSC interview these days, over 50 years ago. I was still studying in IIT Kanpur at that time. My interview was in the last week of February, I think, sometime. First slot in the morning, 9 o'clock. So I took an overnight train from Kanpur to Delhi and arrived there by 4:35. I went to my friend's house, changed, showered, pressed my new suit. My friend's mother gave me breakfast. I had that. I was ready by 7:30. My interview was at 9. I was quite familiar with Delhi, so it would take maximum half an hour at that time to get from there to UPSC. And whenever I was in Delhi, I used to travel in a bus. So my father, who was here, kept writing me letters saying that, no, you must take a taxi today, because he was anxious that I must arrive in UPSC neat and tidy, unruffled. So here I was, for the first time in my life, wearing a suit. For the first time in my life, sitting in a taxi. Arrived at the UPSC. They checked my papers, made me sit down there. For 9:05 or 9:10, I was in front of the interview committee. So good morning, sir, good morning, sir, good morning, sir. And the chairman said, are you still studying at IIT Kanpur? Yes, sir. So when did you come to Delhi? This morning, sir. I took an overnight train. When do you get back? This afternoon, sir. When will you finish in IIT? So maybe in under 2 months, sir. So you'll be in good time to join the IAS if you're selected? Yes, sir. He was just warming me up. Then he passed me on to another member. The member said, do you read newspapers, Mr. Subbarao? Yes, sir. Which one? The Statesman, sir. Okay, tell me, what's the headline of today's Statesman? I was flustered. I had not seen the newspaper that morning. So the chairman saw my agitation. He told the member, look, it's dark and dreary outside. This is still winter. He came by an overnight train. He was preparing for the interview. I don't think you would have seen this morning's paper. Why do you ask him? He rescued me. So the member said, okay, did you see yesterday's paper? Yes, sir. What is the front page picture in yesterday's Statesman? These days, if I look at a newspaper, that goes out of my mind in 10 seconds. I don't remember. But that time I was young like all of you, so I remembered. So it's a picture of Muslims celebrating Muharram. Then he looked at me and said, celebrating? Is Muharram a festival to celebrate? Yeah, I was flustered, taken aback again. Second time in a minute. Then he told me that Muharram is not a festival. It's a day of mourning when Muslims mourn the martyrdom of the grandson of the Prophet. Then he said, okay, tell me which sect of Muslims observes Muharram. And then the chairman told the member, he doesn't even know what Muharram is. Why do you pursue that? So that interview, by which I set so much store, completely dissolved in the first 2 minutes. I was so agitated by then. And I thought the members would go through the motions of interviewing me for 10 minutes and then send me away. But in the event, the interview lasted 40 minutes. And we talked about a lot of things. We talked about President Nixon's China visit. We talked about the style of functioning of Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi, her hegemony over the states. We talked about the differences between IIT Kharagpur and IIT Kanpur, both institutions I have privileged to have studied at. We talked about comparison of farming in Punjab and farming in Andhra Pradesh. We talked about Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Any physics students here? Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. We talked about existentialism in philosophy. So my interview level had gone up minute by minute. And by the end of 35 minutes, I realized that I'd done reasonably well. And when the marks came, I realized that I topped the interview in that year. So the lesson I learned from that interview is not so much to boast, but to say that don't be discouraged by early setbacks. Life and career are a long haul. I'm extrapolating from a 40-minute experience to an entire lifetime and an entire career, but the point is that failures are common. Don't be set back, move on, because life and career are a long haul. Since I'm in the mood for telling stories, let me tell you another story about my lesson number 2, which is whatever you have to do in life or in your career or in your everyday life, do it with passion. You know, when you go to leadership seminars in your management school or you read a self-help book like Jonathan Livingston Seagull or The Alchemist, or you see YouTube leadership lessons, they say one of the secrets to success in life is to discover your passion and pursue it. So if you want to succeed in life, discover your passion and pursue it. That lesson does not accord with my experience. I don't agree with that lesson. The reason being that life does not always give you the opportunity to pursue your passion. The lesson I learned is that whatever you have to do, whatever you're enjoying to do, do it with passion. Not that you discover your passion and pursue it, but whatever you're expected to do, do it with passion. I'll tell you a story about that. We had a chief minister here in the mid-1980s, NTR. How many of you heard of NTR? Raise your hands. Okay. NTR was not only a teetotaler, he did not drink, but he had moral contempt for people who drank. And when he came in as chief minister, he was pained by thousands of families becoming impoverished, households crumbling, people becoming drunkards, dying because of drunkenness. So he wanted to introduce prohibition, prohibit drinking. But then, you know, civil servants like me, all the bureaucrats, they said, no, sir, you can't do that. Why? Because we get a lot of excise revenue. So if we forego that revenue, we can't do your other schemes like giving rice at ₹2 per kg and all that. NTR was a clever man. So he said, what about Gujarat? Gujarat has prohibition and they're doing okay. No, sir, Gujarat has had time to adjust for 40 years. We can't adjust now. Then besides, if we want top businessmen, top industries to come, they will not come here unless they're able to drink. And he said, what about Gujarat? There's prohibition there. And it's the most industrialized state in the country. But anyway, the civil servants scared NTR into not introducing prohibition. So NTR said, okay, if I'm unable to introduce prohibition, I will do the second best thing. I'll make sure that people do not die of drinking adulterated liquor. So the solution the government decided was that they're going to set up bottling plants, bottling liquor. One plant in every district in the 23 districts of the combined state of Andhra Pradesh at that time. That decision was taken at a very high level. I was not part of that decision. But that evening, I got a posting order, posting me as officer on special duty for arrack bottling. Officer on special duty for arrack bottling. You know? And when I got there, I said, why me? There are 250 IAS officers in the state. And they could have chosen anyone. I don't know, why did they choose me? I did not show any flair for implementing projects, much less for bottling liquor. Why did they pick on me? I was distraught, angry, frustrated. You know, how many of you want to appear for civil services? Some of you want to appear, okay, even if you don't want to raise your hands, that's okay. But, you know, you see the civil service results come every year and the toppers are interviewed. And every topper, why do you want to join the IAS? I want to join the IAS and change the world. Is this the way I'm going to change the world? By bottling liquor? And you go to a wedding in your family function, you go to a party, people ask you, what are you doing? I'm bottling liquor. Okay? So I was angry, frustrated. And it is a no-end job. There was no way this could be done in 9 months in all the 23 districts of the state. So I went home and brooded. For 3 days, I was so depressed, angry, distraught that I didn't go to the office. But then over the weekend, I decided that if this is what I have to do, I will do it. It is better to try and do it and fail rather than not doing it and failing. So on Monday morning, I got up with a fresh resolve. So slowly over a week, I got together a team. That's another story. I don't want to go into that. But over 10 months, we worked on the projects, actually about 14 to 16 hours every day from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. For 9-10 months, we worked on that. And here's the thing. 3 days before the D-Day, we had all the 23 plants working, fully built, fully equipped, fully staffed, all systems in place, ready to go 3 days before the deadline. It was an enormously satisfying experience for me. Now, what I thought would be an impossible, uninteresting task became an exciting and challenging task. Even today, people ask me, what is your best job in your career? They think that it's like being governor of RBI, being finance secretary, or being in the prime minister's office. In fact, the best assignment of my career was in that officer on special duty for Eric bottling, which I'd done for about 10 months. And I learned many things from that. The first thing I learned is don't be vain. Now, not everything you have to do in life is sexy or glamorous. You have to do a lot of uninteresting things. So that's the first lesson I learned. The second lesson I learned is don't fear failure. Failure is part of your life. Every time you fail, you learn from it. Get up and move on. The raw truth is that failure is part of everyday life. And successful people are not people who failed, who've never failed, but people who learned from their failures. You use Google Maps and you take a wrong direction. What does Google Map do? Recalculates, right? Puts you on the right track. So every failure must be like a Google Map that you recalibrate and move on. And the third lesson I learned from that, of course, is that whatever you have to do it with passion. My next story, keep your ear close to the ground. When I was appointed governor in 2008, governor of RBI, I was finance secretary in Delhi. I went to call on the Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, for thanking him for appointing me as the governor, for reposing confidence in me. Dr. Manmohan Singh had known me. I was a mid-level official in the finance ministry when he was finance minister. As Prime Minister, I was finance secretary. He knew me. But, those of you familiar with Delhi, I was in North Block, South Block, so I walked across to the PM's office, 11 o'clock in the morning, just the two of us. So I thanked him, sir, thank you very much for posting me as the governor, etc., etc. And then we talked about the macroeconomic situation. We talked about the RBI and the government. We talked about the comparison of living in Delhi versus living in Mumbai for about 10 to 12 minutes. And then I said, sir, do you have any advice to give me? Dr. Manmohan Singh himself was governor of RBI in early 1980s. So I said, so you were governor yourself, do you have any advice to give me? Dr. Manmohan Singh is a very humble person, given to very few words. He said, Subbarao, what advice do I give you? You've been an IAS officer, you worked at the state level, you worked in Delhi, you're familiar with the government, you're familiar with the RBI. Do whatever you think is best for the country, and I'm sure you'll do well. And then another 2-3 minutes, when you're with Dr. Manmohan Singh, you got to take the lead in managing the conversation. So after another 2-3 minutes, I got up to take leave of him. And then when I got up, he came around from his table, walked around the table, and escorted me to the door. Like from here to there, what? And when I half opened the door. He put his hand on my shoulder and said, Subba, you asked for my advice. I just want to give you one piece of advice, which is that you're going from the government to the RBI. The Reserve Bank is a great institution, but at the same time, it's also a closed institution. So once you go to the RBI, you will get so lost in numbers, money supply, credit growth, interest rate, foreign exchange reserves, that you will forget that there are people behind you, behind every decision you make. The PM said this, I said, thank you, sir, and I walked away. Within half a minute of that, that advice evaporated from my mind because I was so overwhelmed by shifting from Delhi to Mumbai that I forgot about that advice. But after I started working in the Reserve Bank, when I got familiar with the job, I realized the import of the advice that Dr. Manmohan Singh had given me. Because the primary responsibility of the Reserve Bank of India is to maintain low and steady inflation, keep prices in check. That is the primary responsibility of the Reserve Bank of India. Why is that important? Why is low and steady inflation important? That's a big lesson. I don't want to give that. But I just want to tell you why. One reason why low and steady inflation is important. This shirt, it cost 2,500 rupees last month. If I go to a mall and I have to buy this shirt and it costs me 2,700 rupees today, I wouldn't even notice that the price of the shirt has gone up by 200 rupees at my level of income. But poor people, if the price of rice goes up from 40 to 42 rupees, if the price of a bus ticket goes up from 25 to 27 rupees, they notice that. Because for poor people, consumption is a large proportion of their consumption basket. To them, it matters. Many of you, your Vice Chancellor was telling me that you come from diverse backgrounds from across the country. I can, at my age, look back on my young days when my parents in a low middle class family were struggling to put us to schooling and college because of high prices. So the responsibility of the Reserve Bank of India is to maintain low and steady inflation. What's this got to do with the advice? The link between that advice the PM gave me and low and steady inflation is that every 2-3 months you see in the newspaper, on the TV, right, that the Reserve Bank has reviewed the policy and decided to keep the interest rate steady or keep the interest rate, raise the rate or lower the rate, whatever, right? In the lead up to that review, the governor and the senior management of the RBI consult all the stakeholders. They consult banks, non-bank finance companies, financial markets, economists. They consult academics. They consult the government. They consult all the stakeholders before deciding. They don't consult the most important stakeholder. Who is the most important stakeholder in inflation? The poor people. As governor for 5 years, I never told my staff, okay, get me 50 people from the street, I want to consult them. We don't do that. So what the Prime Minister was telling me was exactly that. That remember that whatever you do, there are people behind that. Don't miss the obvious, okay? It's in my next lesson. How many of you are Sherlock Holmes? Okay, some of you are Sherlock Holmes, very good. So, when Sherlock Holmes and Watson, they go to investigate a crime, a murder, and they've gone outside London, and then it gets dark. So they can't get back to London. We're talking about 20th century, whatever. So they pitch a tent and go to sleep. In the middle of the night, Sherlock Holmes gets up and he shakes Watson up. Watson, get up. And Watson gets up and rubs his eyes and says, yeah, why do you wake me up? And look up, what do you see? So Watson says, oh, wonderful. I see the blue sky. You know, London, there's so much fog. I've never seen a blue sky like this. Wonderful. Thank you for waking me up. Watson, what else do you see? Oh, I see the stars. I see the moon. I've never seen stars in London. What else do you see? Since you're pressing me, I see God's pristine creation. At that time, Holmes gets frustrated. He said, don't you see somebody stole our tent? Okay? So the obvious thing is he was not realizing the obvious, which is somebody stole the tent. Here again is a story I want to tell you. You know, when I was in my career, first posting, more than 50 years ago, I was posted as sub-collector of Parvatipuram in North Coastal Andhra Pradesh. Okay? I'm talking about the mid-1970s. And from about late 60s to mid-70s, Parvatipuram tribal tracts were ravaged by the extremist movement. There were a lot of violence, crime, law and order situation, deaths on both sides. By the time I went there in mid-1970s, the extremist movement had died down, so we were in a reconstruction phase. In fact, for the government, the big question was, how do we protect tribals? Okay? So there's a big program for building schools, hospitals, health centers, educating their children, giving them loans, giving them whatever. And the question was, why? You know, those of you are familiar with the extremist movement, it's called the Naxalite movement, right? Because it originated in Naxalbari of the Darjeeling district of West Bengal. And then it spread all over. But here's the thing. It started in Naxalbari, hopped over Odisha and came to Parvatipuram. Why? Why was the tribals of Parvatipuram specially vulnerable to extremist doctrine? Because historically they've been exploited. They took loans from non-tribals, they became indebted, they lost their land, they lost their cattle, they lost their livelihood, they became bonded labor. So they were alienated, they were angry, anguished about their plight. That's why they were susceptible to extremist movement. So we did all that. After about 3 to 4 months, after I got familiar with the area, it struck me that tribals should not have been exploited. Why? Because there is something called protective legislation on the statute book. There are laws which says that no non-tribal can take a land away from a tribal, period. No non-tribal can take land away from a tribal. No non-tribal can ever coerce a tribal to repay the loan. Even if the tribal says, I took the loan, he did not repay. That's what the law says. Okay? The law is very straightforward, highly biased in favor of tribals, absolutely transparent. So it struck me, why should thousands of tribal families become indebted, become landless, when there is such protective legislation on the statute book? So I said, oh, my predecessors, they were busy with other things, now I will do this. So in the first 3 months of my career, I went from village to village, one tribal hamlet to another, telling them, talking to them, inquiring about them, and telling them, look, there is all this protection available to you. All you have to do is say that my land has been taken away by a non-tribal, and I'll pass an order, give it back to you. All you have to say is, I took a loan from this non-tribal of 2,000 rupees, is forcing me to pay it back. I will cancel your loan. If you cannot write a petition, I'll send my staff to write it for you. So for 3 months I campaigned. I felt very great. I thought I'll be flooded with thousands of petitions. In the end, nothing happened. Nothing. I got maybe 10 or 12. I was surprised. I said, I've done so much campaigning. Why are people not coming? And then it struck me that they will not come. The reason is that if one tribal family complains against a non-tribal, the non-tribal community will ostracize the entire village. They will not get any other loan forever. So if the children fall ill, if the girl falls ill and they take her to hospital at 2 o'clock in the morning, the non-tribal has to give them the loan. If they have a death in the family, sickness in the family, wedding in the family, festivals to celebrate, it's the non-tribals who give them loans. So if one tribal household alienates a non-tribal, the entire village is alienated. That's the reason they were afraid to come and petition to me. I missed the obvious thing. So what I want to tell you is, don't miss the obvious. I want to tell you, another example which could relate to, we talk about rapes happening, women, girls getting raped all over. And every time there is a high-profile rape, we see it on the TV, we see in the newspapers, and why are rapes happening? For about 2 hours, we get agitated and then move on. And then every time something happens, what does the government say? We're going to raise the punishment. It's 10 years, then we'll make it 20 years, we'll make death sentence, etc. Is that the problem? Is the problem the stringency of the punishment that is preventing rapes, that is encouraging rapes? The problem is witnesses. And problem is there is no conviction in a rape case because there are no witnesses and witnesses are scared away. So what we need, more importantly, to get rapists convicted is witness protection. That's the obvious thing. So I just want to emphasize that don't miss obvious things. I don't know how I'm doing on time, but let's see. Yeah, this is important for you. You cannot be too busy to do what is important to you. You know, I ask students like you, do you read books? No, sir, we're busy. Do you exercise? No, sir, we're very busy. Do you meet friends? No, sir, we're very busy. Okay? I ask my sons, do you exercise? No, we're very busy. Okay? Now, you're all very busy. But if exercising is important for you, you will have to find the time. When I was under training, another story, back in mid-1970s in Masuri Academy, if you get into the IAS, you're trained in LB Sastry Academy of Administration in Masuri. So when I was under training, Mrs. Indira Gandhi had come as Prime Minister to talk to us. She spoke to us for about 20-25 minutes, entirely forgettable, you know. Prime Minister says, you're all, what does she tell the IAS officers? You're all smart guys, we depend on you to deliver. Very predictable thing, nothing memorable about that speech. After that speech, she went and sat down there. Somebody like Priyanka came again and to propose a vote of thanks, which is what you're going to say now. Okay. So what do you say when you vote of thanks? I thank Dr. Subbarao for having taken time out of his busy schedule to come and talk to us, right? Okay. That's the usual thing, stereotyping we say. When Mrs. Gandhi heard that, she got up from her chair, came back to the mic, she pushed aside Priyanka and took the mic again and said, you know, wherever I go, people say the same thing, that we're grateful to the Prime Minister for taking time out to come and talk to us. I get irritated. This is what Mrs. Gandhi was telling us. I get irritated when people say that because this is part of my work. Coming and talking to you is part of my work. I am busy because I do these things. So don't thank me. She said, look, she also taunted us. She said, look, last week, I went to call on an ailing uncle of mine who was in the ICS. I think she was talking about B.K. Nehru, who was at that time. She said, I went to him and he was lying. And when I entered the room, he said, Beti, come and sit down. So I sat on his bedside and he said, Beti, you're the Prime Minister of the country now. You must be very busy. But I don't believe you're as busy as I was when I was district magistrate or collector. That's what B.K. Nehru told the Prime Minister, Mrs. Gandhi. Mrs. Gandhi told her, I don't know what you IAS officers do, how busy you are. But as Prime Minister, I have time. I read at least a couple of books every month. I see a movie every week. I have dinner with friends once every week. I write a letter. We used to write letters those days. I write a letter every week. So I have time for that. If those things are important to you, you will do it. So you cannot be too busy to do what is important to you. Let me tell you this also, another short story. Okay? You know, I was on a flight once, I'm talking about 25 years ago, on a morning flight from Mumbai to Hyderabad. And I'm a silent person. I keep to myself. I don't talk to people next to me on a flight. So I was reading my paper. There was a young woman there. I was about 50 years old at that time. The young woman must have been 30, 35. She's sitting next to me. I didn't talk to her. She didn't talk to me. 7 o'clock, the flight took off. And at 7:30 or 7:45, they started serving breakfast. And at breakfast, you can't pretend to be busy, right? So this girl said, sir, what do you do? Where are you going? She struck up a conversation with me. And I told her that I work here. And because I was being courteous, I said, where do you work? She said, I work in an ICICI, the research wing. And she said, I'm coming for this purpose, etc. So for the next 45 minutes until the flight landed, we talked. And when the flight landed, she told me, sir, I hope you didn't mind that I started a conversation with you. I realized that you didn't want to talk, but I took the courage to talk to you. These days I travel a lot. I have decided that whenever I'm on a flight or on a train, I'm going to talk to the person next to me because everybody has something to tell you. And I realized the import of that lesson, because if you're on a flight, you could meet a neurosurgeon, a prawn exporter, or a mother who's worried about a sick child, anybody. So talking to your neighbor is a very great learning experience. So you learn something new every day, so don't shut your mind. Keep your mind open, talk to people. Character matters for leadership. Good character is important to be a leader, a good person, a good human being. Good personality is also important. We confuse between personality and character. All of us, as individuals, we have both character and personality. To succeed in life, to succeed in your career, you need both character and personality. But we conflate them. Character and personality are two different things. The attributes of personality are, extrovertism, confidence, energy, enthusiasm, a sense of humor, broad range of interest. That is personality. Whereas character is honesty, truth, respect, trust, courage of conviction, humility. There's a book called Quiet. It's called Quiet. It's written by a woman called Susan Cain. She talks about that in the book. She talks about it. She says we conflate character and personality. Personality is what we do when others are watching us. Character is what we do even when nobody is watching us. That's the difference between character and personality. And she says that at home, your parents are trying to develop your personality. In school, your teachers are trying to develop your personality. Character is not given importance, but character matters. How many of you have seen Gandhi? Richard Attenborough's Gandhi? Okay, very few of you came, much before you were born. But one of the scenes in that movie is this Gandhi's funeral, starts with the funeral procession of Gandhi. And there is the voiceover which says exactly this, that the object of this massive tribute died as it always lived. A private man without wealth, without property, without an office or a title. And that voiceover continues with this. Just give you 10 seconds to read that. If you see the movie Gandhi, there's a scene in that movie. Now Gandhi is arrested, is brought into a court before the magistrate. There were about 2 or 3 lawyers, about 6 or 7 people there, and put into the box. He stands up there. And then slowly the people who were chattering, there were 4 or 5 people, they stand up and do namaste to him. Then the lawyers, they stand up and do namaste. Then the court staff who were sitting, they stand up and do namaste. Then the police who were sitting, they stand up. And after about 20 seconds, the only person seated was the magistrate. And he was completely bewildered. He didn't know whether he must also stand up in deference to Gandhi or he must keep seated because he's the presiding officer. And you could see that hesitation in his mind. He half gets up, locks his eyes momentarily with Mahatma Gandhi, with a stiff half gesture, sits down. Easily one of the most poignant scenes in the history of movies because it's so moving that Gandhi, just sheer silence, such an unimpressive, small, puny personality, but sheer character, he commands that the courtroom and the entire country. That's character. Okay, this is my last thing I want to say. Follow your dharma. You know, following your dharma is what your vice chancellor tells you, what your professors tell you, your parents tell you, what I'm telling you. It's very easy to say follow your dharma because sometimes you don't even know what your dharma is. Yeah, it is working. I just want you to see. Okay. Sorry. Volume.
One fatality instead of five. Many people think the right thing to do would be to switch the points, to sacrifice one to save five, since that produces the best outcome possible. Now imagine the train heading for the workers again. This time it can only... A runaway train is heading towards 5 workers on a railway line. There's no way of warning, but you're standing near a lever that operates some points. Switch the points, and the train goes down a spur. Trouble is, there's another worker on that bit of track too, but it's 1 fatality instead of 5. Should you do that? Many people think the right thing to do would be to switch the points, to sacrifice 1 to save 5, since that produces the best outcome possible. Now imagine the train heading for the workers again. This time it can only be stopped by pushing a very large man off a bridge. His great bulk would stop the train, but he'd die. Should you do that? Most people say no. But why not? Both thought experiments are cases of sacrificing 1 to save 5. What the trolley problem examines is whether moral decisions are simply about outcomes or about the manner in which you achieve them. Some utilitarians argue that the 2 cases are not importantly different from each other. Both have similar consequences, and consequences are all that really matter. In each case, 1 person dies and 5 are saved. The best option in each harrowing situation. But lots of people say they would switch the points, but they wouldn't push the man off the bridge. Are they simply inconsistent, or are they onto something?
Thank you. That you can Google the trolley problem. It's one of the most famous questions in philosophy. What's the right thing to do? So many times we don't understand what our dharma is. You know, it's easy to say follow your dharma, but we don't know what our dharma is. Mahabharata, take the Mahabharata for example. Now we think of Mahabharata as victory of good over evil, but that is too simplistic. The Mahabharata is a great moral treatise on the conflict that we face in everyday life, about whether we can indeed, what is our dharma and whether we can follow it. Now when Kunti, she goes to Karna before the war, and she tells him that, look, you're my firstborn son, defect, and then you will become the king when the Pandavas win. Karna refuses, of course. The dharma was clear to him. There was no conflict at all. He said, I've stayed with Duryodhan, I'll stay with him. Okay? Absolutely clear. But then, during disrobing of Draupadi in the open court, Bhishma sits in silence. He was conflicted whether he must go and rescue Draupadi, speak for her, or out of abiding loyalty to the king, stay silent. And in the event, he stayed silent. He didn't know what his dharma was. And during the war, Yudhishthira, a character of uncompromising, uncompelling honesty, he says Ashwatthama has died. Ashwatthama, the elephant, has died, whatever. He did not technically lie, but the intent to lie was there. and his chariot sank 6 inches into the ground, signifying Yudhishthira's downfall from the moral high ground. So, following your dharma is very difficult even for somebody like Yudhishthira. When the Pandavas won the war, there was no jubilation. There was no sense of triumph. Instead, there was gloom and remorse, not because they had to kill their kith and kin, but because it was a hollow victory won through guile, deceit, and cheating and cunning. So, following your dharma is the ultimate lesson I want to tell you about. You know, in your career, you're going to come into situations where you will be tested. Your accountability is to your organization, to your superiors, to your peers, to your subordinates, to your stakeholders. In your life, you're accountable to your family. You're accountable to your children. All that accountability is there, but that is imperfect. Your biggest accountability is to your own conscience. Your conscience must tell you that this is the path of dharma, follow that. See, even if you forget everything that I've said, which you will in 5 minutes from now, take one lesson from what I say, which is follow your dharma. So once again, I want to thank Vice Chancellor Professor Rao Garu, Professor Acharya Garu, Professor Loknath Reddy, and all of you for listening to me. Thank you very much. Sure.
Yeah, any questions?
Yeah, thank you. No questions? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, please.
Good morning, sir. My name is Himanshu Yadav, and I am second year student of MA Economics.
What's your name?
Sir, Himanshu Yadav. Himanshu Yadav.
Okay.
Sir, my question is, India's adoption of current account convertibility following the 1991 economic reform. Why the India not yet fully adopted capital account convertibility? Because India is a attractive destination of global investors, and now the India FDI rose to 20 times from 2001 to 2025. Then what are the potential risks and benefits associated with moving toward it?
No, thank you very much for a very involved question about current account and capital account convertibility. Please sit down, Himanshu Yadav. Okay. We went into current account convertibility after the 1991 reforms to be consistent with the IMF obligations. IMF demands that our current account be convertible. What does current account convertibility mean? It means that if I am going abroad for tourism, I can take $5,000 worth, convert $5,000 worth, okay? Or if I have to buy some medicines or import books, I can, for current transactions, convert rupees into dollars. What does capital account convertibility mean? Capital account convertibility means that I can convert $1 million worth of rupees into dollars or yen, buy an apartment in Tokyo. Or I can invest in Europe, in Germany. Okay, that is capital account convertibility. We went into current account convertibility to conform to IMF obligations. We did not venture into capital account convertibility because we believed we were not ready. Our fiscal deficits are very high. Our banks were still not strong enough. Our financial system was not robust enough. That's why we hesitated. And we are moving towards capital account convertibility. It's not as if we've stopped still. We are moving, and our policy is that we will continue to move towards capital account convertibility. When we will finally become capital account convertible, we do not know. Okay? But that's how every country has become. Okay? And I don't want to go into too much of economics, but if you open up suddenly, the problem will be that a lot of money will flood in, a lot of money will flood out. and your exchange rate will become very volatile. Okay? So you cannot manage your finances. Suppose you want to go to the US for study after this. You saved some money. Let's say you saved 10 lakh rupees. But suddenly the 10 lakh rupees becomes worth 2 lakh rupees. Because of foreign investment, you are hurt, right? So that's why we are little, I wouldn't say apprehensive, but a little cautious, so careful about moving towards capital account convertibility. Yes.
Sir, my name is Kamal. I'm executive MBA student, second year student. So regarding this decision making, so during your 2010-11 tenure, you took a very courageous decision to raise the inflation rate against the
what?
Interest rate to control the inflation, right? So
Right.
that was quite a unpopular decision at that time. A lot of risk was involved, right? So as a head of the RBI, how did you manage that, or how did you navigate that whole scenario when you need to take an unpopular decision
Yeah.
and quite amount of pressure, both internal as external,
Yeah.
in the decision there?
Thank you, Kamal. Please sit down. Okay. So there are, as I told you, the primary responsibility of the Reserve Bank of India, indeed of any central bank, is to maintain low and steady inflation. I told you the importance of low and steady inflation. And the primary instrument available to the central bank is the interest rate, the repo rate. Again, I do not want to go into technicalities. Your professors will tell you. But the primary instrument available to the Reserve Bank of India is the repo rate. And through that repo rate management, they expect to influence the entire interest rate structure in the economy, influence demand, and thereby control inflation. Okay? But the problem with that is that oftentimes when you raise interest rate, it hurts growth, it hurts jobs. Okay? Again, since I'm in the mood for telling stories, let me tell you a story, even if it takes 2 minutes. The Reserve Bank of India was set up in 1935, even before our independence. In 2010, when I was the governor, 75 years, we were celebrating a platinum jubilee, just as you're celebrating a golden jubilee this year, we were celebrating a platinum jubilee. And in celebration of the platinum jubilee, we had events all over the country, including here in Hyderabad. I remember one event in Chennai. It was on the steps of the Egmore Museum. How many of you are familiar with Chennai Egmore Museum? Some of you, right? So it was Pongal time, just before Pongal. Chennai was in a festive mood. There were lights all over the museum at 7 p.m. Nationally televised show. Governor and 4 deputy governors were there. There were people drawn just off the street, It was a town hall show and nationally televised. And the anchor asked me, so this is very unusual for the Reserve Bank of India to do this, a town hall event like this. So can you explain what the RBI does? So I explained, in about two minutes. It's very difficult, but I managed. Then there were some questions, okay, about what RBI does. When people meet the governor RBI, what do they complain? They complain that I want to send my daughter to the US for higher studies. I went to the bank manager for a loan. He's not giving a loan, or the interest rate is very high. Somebody else says that I want an auto rickshaw loan, and the bank manager is not even giving me tea. Okay, that's the type of questions, right? About halfway through that show, it occurred to me that I want to take an audience poll. Okay, so this was about 300 people literally pulled off the street in a nationally televised show. Okay, so I said, how many of you want the Reserve Bank of India to maintain a high interest rate and control inflation? About half the hands went up. And I said, how many of you want the Reserve Bank of India to maintain easy interest rates and support growth? About half the hands went up. Nothing surprising there, right? Because at a random sampling of population, you'd expect 50-50. What struck me, though, was that the people who put up their hands for growth were youngsters like yourselves. But careers ahead of them, jobs, they wanted growth. People who wanted low inflation were the middle class, middle-aged people, family budgets to manage. Okay? So within the same constituency, there's a conflict. So the challenge for the governor and for the Reserve Bank of India is how to manage this conflict. And thereby is a long story. But I have no answer for your question, but I have a story for your question. That lady girl there, yeah. Yes, ma'am. You'll get the mic.
Good morning, sir. I'm Varnika Yadav, first year student from MBA Healthcare and Hospital Management.
Where are you from?
I'm from Madhya Pradesh.
Very good.
Yes.
Where in Madhya Pradesh?
It's Ashoknagar,
Okay, great.
near Bhopal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my first question is how to balance empathy with accountability when dealing with team performance issues. And second is, apart from curriculum course that we are studying in MBA, what are the practical skills we must focus on in our free time or 30 minutes every day to get a better hold on leadership and managerial roles? Thank you.
But thank you for those questions. What's your name, you said?
Varnika Yadav. Varnika Yadav.
Varmila. Thank you.
Varnika.
Varmila. Okay, great.
Varnika.
Varmita. Okay. Great. You have a beautiful name, even if I can't get it, okay?
Thank
you. Please sit down. Yeah. So, these are very difficult questions. I cannot really tell you how to balance empathy and accountability, or indeed if there is any conflict between them. No, you read this guy, what's his name, that book? I forget the name, but he writes about it. Suppose, let me give you an example. If you're going on the street after your class and you find somebody's fallen off the motorcycle or fallen under an auto rickshaw, what do? You stop, try to find some first aids, send them to a hospital and all that, right? That's your sense of dharma. That's what you do. But let's say you're going for a UPSC interview, okay? And you see this, and you're getting late. Do you stop? Do you stop and do that, or do you go for your UPSC interview? This is a moral conflict. Okay, this cognitive dissonance that we all have. So it is not a straightforward thing about, I'm always this much empathetic, this much accountability, but ultimately, how do you make choices all the time? I mean, most of you, including me, will go for the UPSC interview because it is my lifetime. Okay? Somebody else will take care of this person who's got into an accident. And what do you do for 30 minutes? Okay? You do different things, whatever, if it's music, do music. If it's books, you read books. But one thing I want to tell you, people ask me, such as you, I said, read books. Okay? And YouTube, your phone are no substitute for a book. So please read 30 minutes. I can't do it myself. I'm retired. I don't have to go to college every morning like you people. I don't even have to shave every morning. Okay? But I still can't get 30 minutes to read a book. I'm embarrassed and ashamed to say that, but read that. Read books, whatever your choice. It'll take you a long way.
Hello, sir. My name is Ladu, and I'm pursuing MBA currently, second year.
Where are you from?
Shillong.
Shillong.
Yes.
Very good.
So, sir, my question is, as you said, you had a 10 months experience in your life where you were bottling liquors, and that was something you were not passionate about. Maybe because you felt there was a better role you could have landed, and that is something that doesn't matches your status or your goals. So, being a fresher where I might start working from the next year, I would like to know, how are we supposed to push ourselves in a situation where we feel like that is not meant for us, but that is what we are starting from? Because sometimes we are not passionate about that role, so we quit. So my question is, how do we not quit? And from your experience, how did you push through it and feel passionate about something that you did not want to show up for?
I understand.
And sir, my second question is the concept of follow your dharma, which is, I think, a really nice concept that you talked about. I would like to know your dharma and how do you actually implement it in your everyday life so that I might also get inspired by it and implement it in my daily life.
Yeah, what was the first question? Remind me again.
Sir, like bottling liquors for 10 whole months, even though you did not show up for the job initially.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. You know, I can't really tell you how to feel passionate about it, but what I want to tell you is that all of us, including your Vice Chancellor, all of you, your faculty members, we are called upon to do things that we are not passionate about. No? Okay. But you have to do them as part of your life. So I was just reading a book yesterday by a doctor, and he was sent by his, when he went as an intern, he was sent by the senior, anesthesia, there is nobody there, you just go and work there. So this doctor said, I don't want to do anesthesia, that's not my passion. I want to be a neurosurgeon. There's hospital superintendent, so that's where there's a vacancy, there's nobody there, you just go and do anesthesia, that's all. Okay? And he went. And he became one of the most famous anesthetists in the country. So he said, okay, this is what I have to do, I will do it. You may not always end up in the same, maybe you will move jobs. In fact, what I learned is when I joined a career, we took up a job and stuck to it, because you wouldn't get any other job. But what they're saying now about the future of work is that you wouldn't have a career. Okay? You will set up an NGO and run it for 5 years. Then you will become a teacher in a primary school for 5 years. Then maybe you will be panchayat president for 5 years. Then you will go and become a research scholar, and then join as a, in a private sector. So what they're saying about the future of work in the digital age is that there's going to be no fixed career. So your career paths are going to be quite different from mine. And that is a great opportunity. You learn as you go along, and learning will never go waste. Okay? So even if you're not interested, treat that as an investment and something to learn. Because whatever you do, you're learning a lot of other things as you're learning, as you're doing it. Yeah. About follow your dharma, yes, several times, small ways, big ways, found it difficult to do what I thought was the best thing to do. Because as IAS officers, our dharma, in some sense, our dharma was to advise. But if the politicians decided that this is what we are going to do, your dharma is to implement it. You cannot say that, look, I'm not for it. Like, I'll give you a concrete example. Yesterday, the government of Telangana decided that they're going to waive the 2 children rule for contesting in panchayat and municipal elections, right? So far, if you have more than 2 children, you're ineligible for contesting. Yesterday, they removed that. I am against that. But if I am the Secretary Panchayat Raj, I cannot say, look, I am against it. I'm not going to implement it. You have to implement it. That is your dharma. Okay? So that is the conflict in following your dharma. Yeah, that's an unsatisfactory answer to your question, but nevertheless, some answer. Thank you.
Sir, pleasant morning, sir. This is Bilvanath.
Bilvanath?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where are you from?
Sir, I am from Andhra Pradesh.
Where in Andhra?
Nandyal, sir.
Very good. Yeah.
Sir, there is a bus going on internationalization of Indian rupee. So for that, to reduce the dependence on dollar, as well as BRICS is going to implement some currency. At the same time, India is making rupee swap agreements with various countries for trade. At the same time, RBI has launched some different initiatives like digital rupee, as well as unified lending interface.
Yeah.
So I want to know about your insights that RBI taken on the future of internationalization of Indian rupee and its stealth.
Thank you, Bilvanath. Very interesting question, but that's take at least a series of 10 lectures to answer that question. But that's a very important question. But I want to give a very simple answer for now, which is that we want to internationalize the rupee. Why do we want to internationalize the rupee? Because it'll mean ease of trade. We can improve our trade. More investment will come. If you go and try to change your rupees in Dubai or Singapore or New York, first of all, you'll get a very, very bad rate. Okay? But if rupee becomes international, People get used to rupee, you export more, import at lower cost, foreign investment will come, foreigners will feel familiar, its cost of doing business will improve. We want to internationalize it. But you just cannot say that I want to internationalize the rupee, because the dollar is the international currency today because dollar is freely convertible, exchange rate is not controlled, dollar can move out, you can convert that to any other currency. The American system of governance, in spite of Trump, inspires confidence that there is rule of law, there are institutions. So there are very stringent conditions to be met for a currency to become convertible. China, for example, the second largest trading nation in the world, second largest economy. The trade footprint is all over. They're trying to internationalize the RMB. Why? Because they will improve their trade. They'll improve China as a destination. But even China has a problem because China is a very controlled economy. If you have 10 lakh rupees, would you rather invest that in yuan or in dollars or in euro? Okay, because China doesn't inspire that sort of confidence. So hopefully rupee will become international at some time, but we are far away.
Hello, sir. My name is Som Pathak.
Where are you from, Som?
I am from Jharkhand.
Where in Jharkhand?
Ranchi, sir.
Ranchi. Yeah, great.
Sir, RBI is following this flexible inflation targeting framework, as you know, and there has been always a debate of jobless growth in India situation. So how do you think beyond this flexible inflation targeting framework, and is there anything further we can prove? Because inflation and unemployment is always related. So how do you view that, see that?
No, can you please be more specific?
Like I am more situation in jobless growth situation.
Yeah, jobless growth.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know, we expect that as the economy grows, there'll be job opportunity. That's how the world has moved on, right? So as I just said in answer to another question, if there is growth, there'll be jobs. That's what economics textbooks tell us. But something strange is happening over the last 15, 20 years, not just in India, but around the world, that economic growth is taking place, but jobs are not being created. Why? Because investment is going into areas which are not job intensive. Earlier, which at a very practical level of speaking, which are job intensive sectors, small and medium industry, okay? Services sectors, get jobs. Investment is increasingly going into sectors which do not create so many jobs, like the financial sector. So the job intensity of the economy is going down. That's a big problem because we need to find jobs for the youth. All of us say that, the Prime Minister must create employment opportunities. I've written about it myself. But if the PM says, okay, tell me how to create jobs, I really don't know. Okay, there is no simple or single answer for that. There is a skill mismatch. What people can do and what the industry wants. We need to provide, embed services in manufacturing, provide jobs there, because manufacturing itself is not very job intensive. As Raghuram Rajan and others say, we must focus on services. We must focus on exports. But what sort of exports does the world need? Earlier, we used to think in terms of exports means export things like you make a pen or you make a duster, you make a mic. Okay? But these days, as advanced economies are getting older, they don't consume so much of goods. They're not buying more TV, they're not buying more washing machines, they're not buying more cell phones. They're buying experiences. They're going on vacation. They're going to more restaurants. They're going on tourism. So as people get older, their demand is moving. So are we preparing ourselves for that? That is the question. So we must prepare our youth for jobs within the country, jobs around the world.
Thank you,
Sorry,
sir.
yeah,
Yeah, no, no, sir.
yeah, that's fine.
I must say that this lecture of Duvvuri Garu was refreshingly different. So let us applaud and give a big thank you to him. Sir, you touched upon variety of things, and your presentation was essentially an essence of your life journey, your experiences, and the type of question that evoked suggests that you essentially touched all the points, including the points of economy. Although you didn't touch upon economy, I think so many very involved questions were posed to you in the area of economy. Thank you very much. I think this would have been a good learning experience for you also, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. Yeah. Talking to young people is always a life affirming,
Yes.
elevating, mood elevating, and learning experience.
So thank you very much, all of you also. Thank you. And I'll give it to.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I think all good things have to come to an end. So does this program. But now I am in two minds whether I should thank Subbarao Garu or not, going by Indira Gandhi's example. But anyhow, sir, instead of thanking you, we pay our respects to you. So, as a small token of remembrance from our side, I request Vijay Rao Garu to do the honors.
It's a token of appreciation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Great.
A lot of faculty friends, non-teaching friends, and student friends. Thank you all.